Hello everyone, glad to be back. Today is 1st of September, now it's 12:30, middle of the day by Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for the day in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. There are quite a few very significant developments and news that I like to share with you for this moment, but before I start, let me wish you a great day and wonderful upcoming weekend. Tomorrow on Saturday I will also have a day off and I will return to news and political commentary on Sunday. So that's been said, let's talk about news now, and I will start with a short summary of the situation on the front line from southern sectors up to northern ones. And first, of course, Kherson region, in which we have some quite interesting reports that are coming in comparison to previous days. According to some reports, there are some quite significant activization of hostilities. Ukrainian forces did once again launch a landing operation in direction of Kazachyi Lager settlement, and according to some reports, they did manage to cross the Dnieper successfully and establish a bridgehead on the left bank, not far away from Kazachyi Lager. According to some reports, Russian forces did notice movement of Ukrainian side early on and destroy all the boats that Ukrainian forces were using to cross Dnieper, and there is no bridgehead of Ukrainian army on the vicinity of Kazachyi Lager. Hard to tell, but during the day probably we will learn some more, and of course I will share with you all the additional news on my Telegram page and in the next updates. And by the way, also quite activization in direction of this spit here, Kimbursky spit, that's the geographical name of this area, if I'm not mistaken. And according to some reports, yet again, reports are quite contradicting each other. According to some reports, Ukrainian forces did manage to conduct landing operation in this area and establish some small bridgehead. But according to opposite reports, attempt of Ukrainian forces to conduct a landing operation failed, and the Russian side destroyed this landing force. Yet again, hard to tell what is going on really, but whenever we will receive some additional news, I will share that information on my Telegram. If information will be confirmed that Ukrainian forces did begin yet another wave of local scale offensive operations in Kherson region, in my understanding, in preparation to conduct a large scale landing operation in the future, then in coming days we will probably receive much more information about attempts from Ukrainian side to cross the Dnieper River. For now there is not enough information yet to make some conclusions, but overall situation on Kherson region is still deadlock. Russian side is in operational control of the left bank, and nothing is happening that will influence situation on this sector of the front in near future. But yet again, I did said quite a few times before that my understanding is that Zelensky and his associates do have plans to conduct mass crossing of the Dnieper River, and maybe current activity of Ukrainian forces are connected with that plan. But yet again, this is my guess. I'm not a military expert and I can be mistaken. Let's talk about some other sectors now, and of course next is Zaporozhye and South Donetsk sectors. When it comes to Zaporozhye sector, main hotspot is still Rabotina area, Rabotina, Verbovo, and lately also Novopokrovka. And according to latest news that we are receiving this morning, during the night and the early hours this morning, Ukrainian side did launch a quite significant or quite large offensive operation in this sector of the front, but they were met with heavy fire from Russian artillery and latest reports indicate that Ukrainian forces lost up to 150 military personnel and retreated. According to some other reports, Ukrainian losses are even higher than that. So yet again, during the day, we will probably receive some additional news, and of course, I will share that information on my Telegram. When it comes to settlements itself, Rabotina is disputed between the sides, despite all the attempts from Ukrainian forces to establish full control over the Rabotina. They are unable to do so, and southwestern part of this settlement is still controlled by Russian forces, and central part is gray zone, I will say. And to be honest, I don't think Ukrainian forces are in control of any area in the settlement at all, because Russian artillery can cover just any point in the settlement, any point. And when it comes to Verbovo, the settlement is under full Russian control. There were some reports that forward units of Ukrainian forces did manage to enter the settlement and even establish control over the several buildings. I did report about it yesterday, but we did not see, or at least I did not see, any photo or video confirmation of that. So I assume entire this settlement is still under full Russian control, and same goes for Novopokrovka. Even though Ukrainian forces are quite close from this settlement, as you can see on this map, they did manage to establish some bridgehead in between Verbovo and Rabotina. Novopokrovka still under full Russian control, and as time goes by and concentration of Ukrainian forces in this area is increasing, there are more and more possibility that the Russian side will conduct some pincer offensive to encircle this grouping of forces of Ukrainian army in this area is increasing, in my understanding, and in upcoming days, in next few days, we may see exactly this type of action to take place. But overall, I will say Russian side is in full control of situation in Zaporozhye sector of the front line, and despite 3 months of Ukrainian so-called counteroffensive, we can just state that they are unable to even reach first line of defense of Russian army. They are unable to reach even first line of defense. And by the way, at this point, I'm not quite sure if Ukrainian side still has enough reserves to continue this local scale push or local scale offensive in Rabotina, Verbovo, Novoprokopievka area for a long time. Maybe a few more days, and I guess that's it. Ukrainian forces will finally run out of steam in this area. But let's see what will happen. But when it comes to Donetsk direction, situation is not really changed that much in comparison to previous days. It's operational pause or deadlock, and I guess because of lack of manpower and military equipment, Ukrainian side is just unable to continue their local scale offensive operations. And main hotspot in this area, of course, was Vremovsky salient. So it's operational pause, nothing is happening that will influence overall situation on this sector, local scale skirmishes, artillery duels, and of course these drone battles between the sides. When it comes to Donetsk direction, initiative here is in Russian hands, absolutely, and Russian forces are constantly trying to improve their positions in Marinka area, in Krasnogorovka area, in Avdiivka area, but yet again, all Russian activity at this point, or mainly Russian activity at this point, are due to, in my understanding, due to attempts to distract logistical lines of Ukrainian armed forces that are going through Donetsk direction and supplying with manpower and weapons, not just Ukrainian forces in Donetsk sector of the front, but also in South Donetsk sectors of the front. That's why artillery duels in this area are increasing. And heaviest losses Ukrainian side usually has exactly in this area, in Donetsk direction, where artillery duels are just unbelievably heavy. When it comes to Bakhmut area, as we all know, initiative is on Russian side. And despite some expectations from some military experts that Ukrainian forces will try to continue their local scale offensive, especially in the southern flank of Bakhmut, it's more than 2 weeks now, or at least 2 weeks, that Ukrainian forces are unable to conduct any more or less meaningful local scale offensive on any of the flanks of Bakhmut, on the northern or on the southern flank. Initiative is on Russian side, and it's Russian forces that are dictating situation in this area. And by the way, when it comes to northern sectors of the front line, it's still artillery duels between the sides. We do have reports on daily basis that Russian forces are improving their positions in Kupiansk direction, in Liman direction, in direction of Seversk. But yet again, at this point, Russian forces are on the lines from which they have to conduct large-scale offensive operations, because they are just in a few kilometers from Kupiansk, let's say. So how much they have to improve their positions to become ready to conduct large-scale offensive in direction of Kupiansk? They already are in such a position. So it all depends now on decisions in Russian Defense Ministry. Will they greenlight offensive, large-scale offensive in northern sectors of the front, from Seversk and Liman up to Kupiansk and entire Kharkov region now, until rainy season will be gone? Or will we see Russian large-scale offensive in these areas during the winter offensive of Russian army, which is gonna be inevitable, in my understanding. And this is it for short summary of the situation on the front line. During the previous 24 hours, main two hotspots, I will say, was Kherson region and Zaporozhye region. We did see some activization of Ukrainian forces in Kherson direction. They are trying to conduct some landing operations, somewhat successfully, according to some reports. But overall, Russia is in operational control of situation, and nothing is happening right now that will allow Zelensky's regime to achieve any breakthroughs. And when it comes to Zaporozhye sector, as I just said, according to latest reports, during the morning's offensive, local scale offensive of Ukrainian forces, they lost up to 150 soldiers and were forced to retreat in Verbova areas. Some reports say that they lost even more soldiers. And by the way, let's talk about some other news now. And TASS news agency is reporting, based on statements from Mayor of Moscow, Sergei Sobyanin, that Russian air defense systems did shut down yet another drone in Lyubertsy area of Moscow region when drone was approaching Russian capital. Well, I did share, by the way, video footage of that incident. As you can see here, drone is flying, and that's explosion, exact moment when Russian air defense systems destroyed that drone. You can see this video on my Telegram with many other news. Well, it's good that Russian air defense systems are very effective, but same time, it's unfortunate that Zelensky and his associates are still receiving intelligence technologies and long-range weapons from NATO member states, from so-called Western elites, and they are still able to conduct such strikes deep inside Russian territory. Unfortunately, this is not the last such a case, I'm afraid. But let's continue now. And RIA Novosti is reporting that Russian forces did repel Ukrainian local scale counteroffensive operation in Rabotin area. I just spoke about it, and we have here a statement from governor of Zaporozhye region, Evgeny Baletsky, according to whom early morning today, approximately 7:30, Ukrainian forces did begin their local scale offensive operation in the direction of Rabotino, and they were using up to 200 soldiers, if not more, at least 200 soldiers, let's say, and as a result of Russian fire, especially artillery fire, according to governor of Zaporozhye, Ukrainian side lost 156 military personnel. Well, I don't know how Beletsky knows exactly how many soldiers Ukrainian side lost. Maybe Russian forces were listening to radio communication of Ukrainian side, and this information became available for governor of this region. But anyway, point is that Russian forces repelled this Ukrainian offensive, and Ukrainian side lost significant number of military personnel, and was forced to retreat on initial positions. Also, RIA Novosti is reporting that Russian armed forces improved their positions in Kupiansk direction. Yet again, I did mention this just a few minutes ago. Russian forces constantly are improving their positions, and then they are very well prepared, in my understanding, to conduct large-scale offensive operation. And well, it all depends on Moscow when Russian Defense Ministry will green light. When Russian Defense Ministry will green light large-scale offensive operations in the northern sectors of the front, from Seversk and Liman up to Kupiansk and the entire Kharkov region. It may happen before rainy season begins in next 2 to 4 weeks. Or otherwise it will probably happen during the Russian winter offensive, which is at this point it seems to me inevitable, absolutely inevitable. And let's continue. RIA Novosti is also reporting that Russian armed forces destroy Ukrainian boat in Kherson region. This is reported by RIA Novosti, based on statements from militaries that are well informed about situation in this area. And according to this report, not just boat was destroyed, but also this small amphibious force of Ukrainian army, 13 military personnel, was also neutralized. Yet again, I did report that the Ukrainian side did become somewhat active in their attempts to cross Dnieper River, in their attempts to establish some bridgehead in direction of this Spitz here, in these areas. And well, according to some reports, they even managed to establish small bridgehead on Kimbursky Spit. So maybe this boat was destroyed during one of these crossing operations. No specifications, by the way, no specifications where exactly, in which direction this boat was destroyed. But anyway, let's continue. RT is reporting that Ukraine could seek extradition of military-aged men from EU. This is quite interesting. Lately, there's too much talk on many media platforms about general mobilization in Ukraine, and the question is who they gonna mobilize, really. I mean, they already did kidnap or forcefully mobilized and forcefully sent to a front line hundreds of thousands, millions of people, really. At this point, we are talking about millions. And who they gonna mobilize next? And that's the answer. That's the answer. Kiev may try to negotiate with EU and EU member states so that Ukrainian citizens of military age may be extradited to Ukraine. That's a possibility. And by the way, once these people in Europe will hear about this news, and if process will truly begin, I guess best decision they can make is to travel to Russia from EU, because Russia will definitely not extradite them to Ukraine. And we may see such stuff, by the way. We may see wave of Ukrainian refugees, yet another wave of Ukrainian refugees in Russia, this time from Europe. This is possibility. Let's continue. And the TASS news agency reporting based on article in Politico that Ukraine will receive first batch of M1A1 Abrams main battle tanks in next few weeks. And we are talking about some 10 tanks from 31 that was promised by Washington to Zelensky and his associates. According to this report, about 200 Ukrainian military personnel did go through training to operate with these tanks, and they are now ready to be introduced to the battlefield. And well, how are you gonna comment this? Abrams tank is even though it's a very capable tank, it has shortcomings, very significant shortcomings, engine and weight, first of all, and well, of course, from military standpoint, these tanks do not pose any more threat than, let's say, Ukrainian T-64 tanks. They are tanks. They can be destroyed in the very same way with the very same weapons. But point is when and how Ukrainian forces gonna use these extremely heavy tanks. How they gonna use it? Because there are some bridges, especially in rural areas of Ukraine, that cannot withstand these tanks. These tanks cannot cross those bridges. These are up to 70 tons, by the way, these tanks. From 60 to 70 tons. They are very heavy, like Challenger 2s are extremely heavy. But Challenger 2s at least have some decent engine. When Abrams has some crap engine that burns fuel in extreme levels and are also extremely hot. So Russian militaries can see those movement of these tanks from not just on the battlefield, from several kilometers, but you can see it from space, by the way. This is the engines that on the jet fighters are implement or you know, the jet fighters are using, you know. This is jet engine. But anyway, this is the news that we are receiving. First 10 tanks will probably arrive in Ukraine before end of September, somewhere in middle of this month. And to be honest, I don't know if they will even participate in the battles, because for whatever reasons we didn't see Challenger tools on the battlefield, isn't it? 82nd Ukrainian Brigade did participate in operations near Abotina and was humiliated and destroyed, basically. And we did see so many Striker armored personnel carriers destroyed, and these German-made Marder personnel carriers have been blew up. We did see that, but we did not see Challenger 2 tanks that are also in inventory of 82nd Brigade of Ukrainian Armed Forces. And maybe one of the reasons is not just unwillingness of London to see captured Challengers in Russian hands or destroyed Challengers like Leopard 2s, but also maybe weight of those tanks also plays some role, because as I mentioned, there are plenty of rivers. When we are looking to these areas, by the way, Of course, you can see some big rivers, but there are plenty of small rivers in these areas that have to be crossed. And bridges on those rivers are not meant to withstand 70 or 80 tons, by the way. They are just not meant to withstand such a weight. And the challengers, weight of which are more than 60 tons, if I'm not mistaken, are too heavy to move around in that area. And maybe Abrams will share very same fate. They will stay somewhere in I don't know, man, in warehouses. And that's it, really. And wait the day when Russian side will capture them intact. Maybe that will happen. Because, you know, I did see in comment sections many questions, many times questions. I mean, why Challenger 2s are not on the battlefield, and why we didn't see Challenger 2s? I don't know. Maybe because they are too heavy and they are not good enough for such a terrain. Even though tanks themselves are one of the best ones in the world. Challenger 2s and Abrams tanks, they are great tanks. But maybe not for such terrain that we see in the Zaporozhye region, for example. But anyway, let's talk about some other news. And by the way, it's quite interesting that Russian side did conduct some experiments, some analysis of captured Bradley armored personnel carrier, and the manufacturer of Russian BMP-3, Kurgan-Mash Zavod, did make statement, one of the heads of this company, that Russian BMP-3 are in many ways superior than Bradley, especially in maneuverability and firepower, which is true, by the way. Only point when Bradley can be seen as a better than Russian BMP-3 is armor, and that's it. When it comes to armor and protection, then Bradley, in my understanding, are superior than BMP-3. But in all other regards, firepower, maneuverability, speed, and so on, yes, BMP-3 is a much superior vehicle. It just lacks armor. And by the way, probably sometime in the future we will also see similar comparisons or statements from other companies also, when they will compare their weapons with the Western weapons, including Western-made battle tanks. Leopard 2s did prove that they are, they are easily destroyed. They are not wonder weapons. Yes, Leopard 2s did already prove that they are no wonder weapons. And fairly soon, maybe Challenger 2s and Abrams tanks will also prove that they are no wonder weapons too. But anyway, RT is reporting that Kyiv worries now that West might change its mind when it comes to F-16 deliveries. And let me read a few sentences in this article. So, Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky is scrambling to complete an agreement for delivery of F-16 fighter jets to his country as soon as possible, according to New York Times. Zelensky fears that shifting political sands in Western countries could undermine support for Kyiv and, in particular, skip his hopes for the Western plains, the outlet reported on Wednesday. Well, I guess the main fear of Zelensky, or maybe his Western masters, is that Trump may become president of US again, and he may do some significant changes in foreign policy of US and in attitude of US towards Ukrainian crisis. And that's a possibility, by the way, if neocons and neolibs fail to remove Trump from presidential race, probably he will become president of US. And because he is not exactly the part of establishment, or at least he did not act like one. I mean, his presidency may become a turning point for not just in crisis in Ukraine, but for US itself. For US itself, because nowadays we do see that US is on full speed is running towards a brick wall. I don't know. Current administration is destroying US from within. I don't know for why, but that's what they are doing. But anyway, yes, I did see logic behind this article in New York Times. I guess Zelensky, his associates, and the Western masters do fear that if Trump will become next president of US, then things may change, not just in the States, but also in many European states, also in many European countries. So, and they may have some, change of attitude towards Ukraine and Ukrainian crisis. But anyway, let's continue. TASS News Agency is reporting that head of EU's diplomacy, Josep Borrell, yet again did spoke about Ukraine, and he said that right now EU is discussing only one peace plan, which is Zelensky's peace plan. And all the other plans, according to Borrell, including plan of, not a plan, but roadmap from Chinese leadership, from Brazil, from South Africa, all those plans are skipped aside by EU, which is once again demonstrates what kind of war hawks, what kind of individuals these bureaucrats in EU are, and who they are working for. Because everyone do understands that Zelensky's plan is no plan, is a nothing burger, really. Non-starter. So what Borrell is saying basically is that EU is not in discussion now to end this conflict. That's what he's saying. But anyway, let's continue. TASS News Agency is reporting that Antonio Guterres, head of UN, did also made statement about Ukrainian crisis, and he said that right now ending of this conflict is not even on the horizon. At least he did not see ending even on the horizon, which is can be understood because we don't really have right now any significant reasons to believe that this conflict will end, let's say, before end of this year. No, it's not possible. We don't have such indicators. So yes, we can, in this case, we can understand Guterres is coming from. Unfortunately, this conflict will probably continue through 2024 also. And if it will end in 2024, that will be better than if this conflict will continue for many more years. Let's hope it will end in 2024. And by the way, as I said many times before, in my understanding, once this conflict will end, there will be no more Ukraine as a state on the political map. I did not see Ukraine remaining as a state in any borders after this conflict will end. But anyway, let's continue. RT is reporting that Lithuania summons Vatican envoy. This story is not going away. When Pope Francis made speech during his talk with in one of the Catholic churches in St. Petersburg, when he was talking to people's gathering in the church, and during his speech he said a few nice words about Russian history, and first Ukrainian side did go crazy about it, why Pope Francis did say anything good about Russia and Russian history while he was speaking with Russians. And then, as you can see, Lithuania is following suit, and they are now protesting officially that, well, Pope Francis did said what he said, which is crazy, by the way. Just, I mean, how are you gonna describe this madness that is happening? I don't know. I have no words really, because this is crazy. How you gonna dictate to head of one of the biggest religious movements what he should say and should not? I mean, are these people in Ukraine and the Lithuanian even capable to think what they want? Pope Francis to ask them what he should say, or what this craziness is about, really? I mean, what is wrong with this idiot stuff? But anyway, that's the continuation of the this story with Pope Francis's speech with the Russian Catholics. And well, he did make angry many Russophobes all around the Western world. Anyway, let's continue. And TASS news agency is reporting the head of Hungary's foreign ministry, Peter Szijjártó, did made a statement that Hungary is against financing military deliveries to Ukraine. And next package supposed to be 500 million, but Hungary is not just against this particular delivery, but also against entire fund to be approved as a fund of support of Ukraine. We are talking about some 20 billion euros, by the way, from 2024 to 2027, which is huge amount of money. And who's gonna pay for it? This money is not Borrell's money or not Ursula's money, or this is European taxpayers' money. And well, Hungary is not happy that this money had to be directed to Ukraine, and they are opposing. Brussels. Let's see if they will have enough strength to stand on this position to the end, or will Brussels eventually will make them apply or oblige. You know, let's see. But Hungary time after time demonstrates, current leadership of Hungary, that they are, I guess, only adults in the room when it comes to EU, modern EU leadership, or leadership of EU member states. And let's continue. How long is this video? 38 minutes. Okay, I will go through some headlines. So UK lawmakers want to expand the IT-China pact, and they want now Japan and South Korea to be invited in AUKUS. As you know, AUKUS is a kind of Indo-Pacific NATO. It's Australia, United Kingdom, and the United States. For now, this is military alliance, by the way. And they want South Korea and Japan to become a part of it. I guess London and Washington may have in plans to invite some other nations also in that region, in Southeast Asia, let's say. And well, I don't know about Japan. I don't think they even have a say in this matter. They will do whatever they are told to do, I guess. But when it comes to South Korea, I don't see why they have to become a part of any military alliance, really, and why they have to position themselves as enemy of China. What is in it for them? They're gonna aggravate China, and well, they may even, as a result, as a result, sometime in the future, they may even end up in the hot war with North Korea. Do they really want that? But when it comes to Japan, I don't know if Tokyo even has a say. I don't know really. It will be nice if Tokyo will demonstrate some independence, but at least for now we did not see any signs of that, and I guess nothing will change in that matter. But anyway, by the way, China will of course react on this, and what Western propaganda and Western so-called elites gonna do? They're gonna say, look at it, man, China is aggressive. China is acting aggressively. When China is responding on threats that UK, US and Australia, unfortunately, I don't understand why Australia is supposed to be in AUKUS. I mean, what is for Australians in this? But you know, China will react on the threats that this AUKUS organization will pose. But Western propaganda will say, you know what, look at it, man. It's unprovoked actions of China, unprovoked, of course. But anyway, let's continue. Something is wrong with our species, by the way. I mean, why we cannot just live in peace, for God's sake? Why we have to fight? What is wrong with us? I mean, with humanity? I don't know. And well, let's continue. I don't want to go in some philosophical stuff. But well, it's unfortunate really that it's the 21st century. We're supposed to be much more developed as a civilization, and we should be able to live in peace, for God's sake. But for whatever reasons, we are unable to do so. It's truly unfortunate, though. But let's continue. RIA Novosti is reporting that Lukashenko did made a statement about demands from Poland and the Baltic states. Wagner units, PMC Wagner units to be withdrawn from Belarus, and Lukashenko did say that if Poland and Baltic states will withdraw, remove from their territories foreign forces, then Wagnerites will leave Belarus. That's a quite answer, isn't it? Why not? Let's Baltic states and Poland, let them remove NATO forces or forces of foreign states, and then I guess there will be no need for Wagnerites to stay in Belarus. But anyway, we all know this is just a fight of words, fight of diplomatic war between the sides, because of course Wagnerites will stay in Belarus and foreign forces will stay in Poland and the Baltic states. It's just obvious. But anyway, let's continue. TASS news agency is reporting that ECOWAS did give a new regime in Niger 9 months period to conduct some reforms, and to basically met demands that ECOWAS members have, which is by the way at one hand is a good development, because it's not gonna be invasion of Niger by its neighbor states, but on the other hand, ECOWAS is still continuing this aggressive behavior when they are trying to dominate and dictate what Niger's government should do or should not. I guess France has something to do with it. But anyway, when I read this information, I was glad, because this proposal from ECOWAS, as I understand, means that at least for the next 9 months there will be no military conflict in West Africa, at least between the states. Otherwise, of course, those countries are constantly in fight with some extremist groups. But anyway, at one hand, this is great news, because there will be no conflict, immediate conflict between the countries. And by the way, TASS news agency is also reporting that Borrell, Joseph Borrell, this so-called diplomat, main diplomat of EU, did spoke about enlargement of European Union, and he said that some 10 new countries will join EU, and EU should be prepared for its enlargement. Well, they can prepare as long as they want, but to be honest, I don't understand why should any country want to become a part of this failed whatever that is. I mean, organization, quasi-state, or I mean, you tell me what EU is. I mean, why should any one country want to become a part of this failed entity? I mean, what is the point in that? When you are seeing that member states are not happy, and citizens in EU member states increasingly opposing their countries to stay in this organization. I mean, but you know, it all comes down with level of independence and sovereignty of states. These 10 states that we are, or Borrell is talking about. Because independent state, well, we will definitely try to have a good relationship with everyone, but same time we'll try to remain its independence. But anyway, let's continue. RT is reporting that Chinese leader Xi Jinping is unlikely to participate in person in G20 summit in India, which will take place this month, I believe, on September. And let me read a few sentences here. Chinese President Xi Jinping is unlikely to attend the upcoming G20 summit in India in person. Unnamed Chinese and Indian officials have told Reuters Beijing's delegation at the major event, which is scheduled to take place in New Delhi on September 9th and 10th, will instead be headed by Chinese Premier Li Qiang. The agency reported on Thursday. So, well, quite interesting. Let's hope this has nothing to do with the somewhat difficult relationships between India and China, because these two countries are major regional and world states, and one way or another, but they have to find ways to improve their relationships and make sure that they are playing positive role in development of world and in the Pacific region, not a negative role. But you know, my understanding is that Xi Jinping just did not wanted to go to China because of exactly these difficult relationships. But I may be wrong. Who knows? Maybe he just don't feel good. I don't know. And RIA Novosti is reporting that Russian Foreign Ministry did react on the information that in China, with the improvement of government official institutions, some maps were published or printed in which one of the Russian islands on Amur River was inside the Chinese territory on that map. And well, Russian official representative of Russian Foreign Ministry, Maria Zakharova, maybe did she listen to my yesterday's update and decided to comment on this? I don't know. This is a joke, by the way. Of course, she has no idea about me and my channel. But anyway, she did said that between China and Russia, there is no unresolved territorial issues. Everything is fixed. All and Russia and China has no territorial claims on each other's territory. Agreements have been made about it between the sides, so there is no issue. Basically, that's what Russian Foreign Ministry is saying, that there is no such issue as some territorial dispute between China and Russia. Formally, this is true. I mean, I did mention this yesterday, that formally this is complete true. But yet again, map was printed in China, isn't it? That's a factual information, and on that map, that was approved by Chinese state institutions. On that map, mistake was made. Maybe it was an honest mistake, but maybe not. And one of the Russian islands, Большой Уссурийский остров, да, вот Большой Уссурийский island, Big Ussuri Island, was completely in Chinese under Chinese control, which is well, I did not like it at all. Let's say this way. And it will be nice. It will be nice if Chinese Foreign Ministry will react on it some way or form, and if they will say that that was an honest mistake, and they will remove all those entire party of those maps with that mistake. That will be right step from China. But I don't think they will do anything like that. But anyway, let's continue. And this update gonna be too long, by the way. It is just the headlines. So RT is reporting that EU officials, EU bureaucrats did warn some EU member states about Russian LNG. As you know, I did report yesterday or day before that some EU member states are significantly increasing imports of Russian LNG. And well, seems like EU bureaucrats are not really happy about it. Maybe because Washington is not happy about it. Because we all know that, Washington is very keen to sell its LNG to Europe, which is significantly expensive than Russian. But anyway, and I guess there were some calls made from US to Brussels, and then these Brussels rats or what their name is, bureaucrats, yes. These Brussels bureaucrats began to harass EU member states that they should, think twice before they will buy Russian LNG. Let's see how European states will react. We are talking about, let's say, Belgium, for example, Spain and France. So, I mean, let's see what reaction from these states will be. But anyway, next news is that the US resisting Ukraine's calls to ramp up oil restrictions on Russia. Well, according to these reports, Kiev is demanding, if Kiev can demand anything from anyone, but according to this report, Kiev is demanding or asking Washington to decrease price cap on Russian oil from $60 to $30. And Kiev has support of some EU member states, Baltic states, for example. They are for everything against Russia, for everything. And Poland is same, by the way. They will support just anything against Russia. Any Russophobic act, they will support. And according to this report, Washington is refusing to act on this demand, and main reason is that they fear that such action will destabilize world economy if they will impose a price cap on Russian oil up to $30. But in reality, my understanding is that Washington don't want to do this, because this way they will undermine their own selves, their own sanctions, because even now Russia is selling oil higher than $60. And by the way, G7 member states are buying Russian oil over $60. For example, Japan is buying Russian oil on higher price than $60, and I guess many other states also. So if Washington will impose $30 price cap, then entire this idea will become laughable, even though it is already. So that's why Washington is ignoring these demands from Kiev, Vilnius, Tallinn, and so on. But anyway, few more news. TASS news agency is reporting that ruling party in Georgia is beginning on impeachment, to work on the impeachment of current president Salome Zurabishvili. And seems like ruling party is not happy that Zurabishvili did conduct some visits in EU without government's approval. And as I understand, because Georgia is a parliamentary republic, any move president does makes have to be talked about with government, and has to have government's approval. In this case, Zurabishvili deduct without taking into account government's position, and well, ruling party said, you know what, enough is enough, and they are now impeaching or beginning to this procedure of impeachment. Let's see what will happen. But this person, Salome Zurabishvili, did prove that he did not care about Georgia and Georgian citizens. I mean, many times. She was openly against, let's say, just if you remember, just a recent period, she was against when Russia made decision to open its borders to Georgian citizens and didn't demand visas from Georgians. I mean, she was against it. Which, I mean, why? You tell me why you're gonna be against something that is good for your citizens. And she was, by the way, against when direct flights were resumed between Russia and Georgia. Once again, why? When it's beneficial for Georgian companies, when it's beneficial for citizens of Georgia. But he was against because Washington was against, right? So this CIA asset should never become president of Georgia in the first place. But well, if she will be removed from office right now, well, that will be a good step in my understanding. But let's see what will happen. In Georgia, by the way, there's too many Western assets. Too many Western assets that are acting on behalf of their masters. Some are working for France, some are working for US secret services or ruling elites. Some may work for London. It's a mess, by the way, what is going on in this so-called political class in Georgia. It's just total mess. But anyway, let's continue. I wonder what percentage of Georgian politicians or so-called politicians truly care about Georgia and Georgian citizens. Like 2%, 3%, 5%, I don't know. But anyway, let's continue, and this is going to be last news for today's update. According to TASS news agency, price for Brent oil did reach $87 for a barrel, which is highest level since the 11th of August. And this is important. Why Russian media is paying attention to Brent price? This is important because Russian oil, which called Urals, price on Russian oil is mainly based on price on Brent. So if Brent is increasing in price, Russian oil is also. And well, in this situation, of course, higher prices on oil is beneficial for Russia. So of course, Russian media do pays attention to this topic. And this is it, by the way. This is it for today's update, which is quite long, but hopefully you will find this update interesting, and if so, please click that like button, leave some commentary about any topic you like, and if you can, please share links to my videos or my channel with your friends on Facebook, Twitter, Telegram, or any other platform that you are active on. That will probably help me to reach wider audience. And if you think this channel, this project is interesting, deserves interesting, informative, useful, and deserves to exist, please consider to support with small donations through PayPal, buy me a coffee, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. You will see links under this video in the description box or in the pinned comment. This is it for now. Once again, I wish you a great day and wonderful weekend. I remind you that tomorrow I will have a day off, so see you on Sunday. Take care.